Today I'm going to attempt to guide you through the somewhat complex process of buying and importing an electric scooter. An electric scooter is a great, cheap to run form of transport. There's no road tax, no fossil fuel and very little servicing needs. Buying one in the UK can be an expensive business, with models such as the Citycoco M3 costing around £2,800, which does include on-road costs. So buying this type of vehicle from abroad is an attractive option, given it will save you somewhere in the region of £800 to £1,000. While the process of buying, importing and registering a road legal bike or scooter is relatively simple, finding the information you need to complete the task can be difficult, which is why I've taken the time to compile this guide. It took just over 7 weeks from choosing, ordering and paying for the scooter to finally having it road legal. I made mistakes along the way which, had I have had this type of guide, could have been avoided and probably cut the time in half. It's also worth noting that although the scooter is technically warranted, I expect it will be difficult and an expensive process to use the warranty. You'll be expected to pay packing and shipping fees to return the vehicle, plus any additional costs which are not covered by the warranty. Your first task is to decide what budget you have. You're going to need somewhere between £1,750 and £2,200 to get yourself on the road, and that's assuming that you've got the correct licence to use the scooter on the road. Let's break that down a little before we go into detail about driving licences. The Nzita X12 scooter, which I purchased, I got for £1,003.48. The import costs were £521.29. DVLA registration fee was £55. There were bank charges of £25 and a postal charge of £6. The insurance for me, I'm 60, was £95 fully comprehensive. The rear number plate was £12 and a new crash helmet was £60, totalling £1,777.77. Of course, there are optional extras such as a tracker. I purchased a Streetwise tracker which was £65 and in my view does the job. Protective clothing. This can range for anything from £100 to £500. Then there's a security. Lock, chain, disc, you're looking at around £200. So your overall cost is going to be somewhere between £2,142 and £2,542. Please consider as well, when you're buying one of these scooters, make sure you search for UK road legal. Without a certificate of conformity, the scooter will not be allowed on the road. Just a note on licences before we move on. For using it on a public road, you will need either a full motorcycle licence, a full moped licence, a full car driving licence which was issued before the 1st of February 2001, a provisional moped or a provisional licence valid by a current DL196 certificate. The DL196 certificate is issued on successful completion of a CBT and it lasts for 2 years. You also need to be 17 years old or older to ride a machine like this. In addition, the vehicle, as previously mentioned, will need to be insured. You must by law wear a crash helmet and the vehicle will be subject to an MOT test after 3 years and every year thereafter. So, purchasing the vehicle. For me, buying one of these was not an impulse or an overnight decision. I first saw them while on holiday in 2017 in Gran Canaria, where folks can hire them for about €15 for 2 hours, and I thought I want one of those when I get back to the UK, so I started checking them out via the internet. I looked at several UK dealers' websites to get an idea on price, and once I saved up enough cash, I then decided to make a purchase. Now, I've done a little bit of trading with China via the Alibaba website, which has always been successful, so I decided to search Alibaba to see what was available, as most of these scooters are manufactured in China. I found dozens of companies selling these or similar scooters, most of whom were happy to sell you anything from 10 units up to a container load. And although that brings the price down to silly money, about £300 a unit, I only wanted one scooter. Alibaba, much like other trade outlets or auction sites, you have to sign up to. The registration is free, and they will ask you for bank details, address and contact details. I can tell you that with Alibaba you are safe, and that your details and information are protected and only shared with traders with your permission. To avoid any of the traders who only deal in bulk, it is possible to set up parameters such as sellers who will supply less than 2, suppliers who deal with Europe, and suppliers who have European warehouses. So you can also set the currency to UK pounds, though traders require paying in US dollars. So with all my parameters set, I began my search. Many of the results came back showing prices from £300 to £1,000. When I looked at it in detail, to achieve a price of £300 you'd have to buy a container load with a promise of future purchases. This of course is for the big players and not for you and I with our fistful of hard earned cash. Once you've found what you want, you can message the trader and start negotiations. You can also opt to have your details and requirements forwarded to other traders who may want your business. I negotiated with several, attempting to get the best price possible. Some traders will be flexible on price while others won't. To give some context to this, I occasionally buy good quality watches to use as prizes in an amusement arcade where I work. My first purchase was 7 test watches, which worked out about £12 per watch including postage. My second was 30 watches, which cost £8 each. The advertised price for these watches was around £10 per unit, so when you add on the postage and packing it brought them up to about £15. So I negotiated a good deal each time, and when you consider that each watch can and does retail for around £40. I found an agent that I wanted to work with, Nzita X12 and Dora, my contact, was willing to negotiate on a price, and we eventually settled on £1,003.48. That was for the scooter, and £521.29 for the delivery. Do make sure that the delivery cost includes all courier fees, import duty and VAT. I got it in writing from the supplier because I didn't want any nasty surprises after the thing had been delivered. This supplier had a Netherlands warehouse and could ship as soon as I had paid. Due to the popularity in Europe, these scooters sell fast, so you may find you have a limited choice when it comes to colours, etc. I'll reiterate the point that I made earlier. Make sure you search for a UK road legal scooter, because without a certificate of conformity you are never going to get this legally on the road. You may be asked to pay by bank transfer, for which your bank will charge you around £25. You may also incur a small charge from the trader's bank. I placed my order on a Monday with an expected delivery date between 7 and 10 days. Thursday the same week, TNT arrived with a van containing a huge box, and in it was my scooter. Checking on eBay, I see you can also purchase these scooters, but they tend to be more expensive, and several of them seem to be sold from Bulgaria, Croatia, etc. So I have no idea if they're genuine, if the guarantee will stand up, or what the shipping costs and process will consist of. Registering and obtaining a registration number. This for me has been the most problematic part of buying the scooter. Not because the registration process is difficult, but because the information on how to do it is not easily available. While the internet is awash with information for dealers and mainstream importers of vehicles, most of the information is inaccurate or irrelevant for people who want to make a single purchase of a new, small electric vehicle. This is precisely why I decided to compile this guide, to help us others who wish to purchase a new road legal scooter from overseas. Now, if you've already taken delivery of your new scooter, you should then have a certificate of conformity and a receipt. Keep these safe. The DVLA will not accept copies of the certificate of conformity, and you will have to pay costs of up to £50 to get it replaced if you lose it. So to register the vehicle, you will need the certificate of conformity, the purchase receipt, proof of where you live, perhaps a utility bill from the last 3 months for example, proof of identity, a copy of your passport or driving licence, a completed V267 declaration of newness form, a completed V55/4 application for new vehicle first tax and registration form, and a cheque or postal order for £55 made payable to the DVLA. Note, the importation of vehicles over 48cc or above 7.4 kilowatts needs to be reported to Her Majesty's Customs and Excise for customs and duty purposes prior to registering them with the DVLA. These scooters do not need to be reported to the HMRC. When downloading the V55/4 form from the .gov website, be sure to download the guidance for completing the form. Most of the information required can be found on the certificate of conformity. The certificate of conformity, aside from checking the details on the form match the vehicle that you have, there's nothing much to do with this form. The details to check are the make, model, power in kilowatts, VIN number, the actual mass in kilograms, and the vehicle category. This certificate should then be photocopied. The purchase receipt. This purchase receipt may not match what you pay for the vehicle and represents the basic unit only cost, which is what the import duty is levelled against. Proof of where you live, like I mentioned before, a utility bill, gas, electric or community charge, Sky bill, which is no older than 3 months, should be sufficient. And of course proof of who you are. Although the DVLA will already know this for people who hold a driving licence, the same applies to your proof of address. This is required for all applications and can be proven via either your driving licence or your passport. Copies are acceptable regarding these documents. I mentioned earlier that there was a cost incurred for postage. I listed the postal cost at £6 simply because I would recommend that you post all of your documents to the DVLA as special delivery. This will ensure that the package is tracked, and in the event it gets lost, the compensation is far greater than first class and will cover the cost of replacing the certificate of conformity. The DVLA. If you forget to put any of the documents into the envelope, your application will be rejected. The DVLA claim that it can take up to 4 weeks with a straightforward application, which is 4 weeks when you cannot legally ride your new scooter on public roads. So any delays will only add to the time that your scooter is gathering dust. Once your registration has been completed, you should receive the V5 document bearing the all-important registration number. Now you can have your rear number plate made up. On the scooter that we base this on, the standard road legal number plate, when fitted, will obscure the rear reflector. This will result in an MOT failure further down the line. There are a number ways in which this can be overcome. A new number plate mounting assembly, removal and repositioning of the existing reflector, or as I did, buy a couple of 20mm round reflectors, they're about £3 a pair, and attach them to either side of the number plate at the bottom. Do not obscure the numbers and letters on the plate when applying the reflectors. Thanks for watching this video, and if you liked it, then why not give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.